Now, the fourth culture working group of the G20, which has been underway since the beginning of the week, is today concluding with the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, hosting a gathering of G20 countries' culture ministers in Ballito on the KwaZulu-Natal North Coast. And this, of course, is one of the last G20 sideshows, so to speak, before the much-anticipated G20 Leaders Summit that takes place in November. And the gathering aims to promote culture as a driver of sustainable development, also supporting the creative economy and protecting cultural heritage across the G20 member states. And this year's discussions are focused on strengthening global collaboration in culture, sustainability and innovation. SABC News anchor Liezle Wilson is there, so let's take you there to her now. Liezle, good morning. And of course, we talk about soft diplomacy, and this is where culture and sport and all of those byproducts really come into their own. But talk to us about what we can expect from the gathering there.
Sakina, a very good morning to you. Good morning to our viewers. Aptly put. Culture really has come to define us as a nation. Perhaps to understand where we're headed, it's important to know where we come from, what's rooted us. And this is what's taking center stage at the G20 Cultural Working Group. It's the fourth day. It also concludes today. I actually wanted to start things off by just confirming that upon our arrival to set up this morning, we saw the hard-working working group members from all different countries leaving. This was around 5:30 this morning. So successfully, we can conclude that they have, finished that agenda, that declaration, and all those points have been put together, and it's going to now be handed over come the 22nd to the 23rd of November 2025. So it's exciting times for us to obviously know what is going to shape the conversations for the South Africa's G20 presidency. But also just picture this. So we are in Zimbabwe, we're in Ballito, as you mentioned. The sun arose over the Indian Ocean, the KZN hills, just, extended into the horizon. It is so picturesque here this morning. And it serves a backdrop, of course, for the cultural working group that's happening. And just to your point earlier on, culture is shaping the conversation there with relation to solidarity, equality, and sustainability at large, which is the overall theme for G20. And so we're looking at what drives culture, innovation, perhaps also just the digital economy, right? And some of the other challenges that persist, how we also exert that agency. So I'm now going to be joined by Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, perhaps to weigh in on the deliberations and where to from here as well. So on that note, a very good morning, Minister, and thanks for your time.
Good morning, and thanks for having me here.
All right, I want to start things off on a positive note just before we get to those deliberations. Bafana is going to be representing us. We really have been doing well on and off the field. Tell us a little bit more about what this means for our country and how we extend that into our grassroots level programs as well.
When you speak to people like I've seen it here this week, they all think South Africa is a rugby country. South Africa is not a rugby country. South Africa is a soccer country. You're going to see, the last time we qualified was 2002. 2010, we had to be there. Yeah, sure. But I want to say I think we are in for the biggest treat. We're going to see social cohesion. We're going to see all races come together behind this brand. We're going to wear our Bafana Friday t-shirts like we do with the box shirts. I am super excited. These guys has qualified despite having points deducted. It speaks to how great they are. Also, it speaks to the fact that they knew South Africa's behind them. And I want to thank all the supporters that went to the game, that was rooting for them on TV, that prayed for them. We are going to America!
Okay, well, this is exciting times, and thank you so much for the enthusiasm, because I actually want to also just get a comment on the Tebogo Mokoena saga. You raised some concerns about what transpired on that front. What can you update us on that regard as well?
Well, this coming Tuesday, we will be having a press conference. Okay. In Johannesburg, speaking about it. But I just want to say, South Africa sometimes can make you laugh, because when FIFA deducted our points, everybody said to me, Minister, get to the bottom of this. Minister, get to the bottom of this. And then, rightly so, then we qualified. They're like, stay away from there. You're going to get us, don't even touch that thing. You're going to get us expelled from FIFA. There's no interference. Okay. We need to understand what went wrong. You cannot fix anything if you don't know what went wrong. We need to take the nation in our confidence, and that's what I told Safa. I said, take us in our confidence. Tell us who did what. We are not going to do the investigation. Safa must do the investigation and give us a report. Tuesday, we will take the nation in our confidence to share with the nation what transpired. Imagine for a second, the very same thing happens in the US, where somebody gets a yellow card, and the very same person makes the same mistake. That person has all the right to tell us, well, you didn't tell me, there was no consequence management, you didn't tell me I did something wrong. So we mustn't let our excitement makes us accept incompetence or whatever went wrong there.
Okay, thank you for that. So come Tuesday, obviously we're looking forward to that. Staying on the issue of leadership, ASA, Athletics South Africa, suspension notice sent to James Malloy, Netball South Africa, also following the AGM, some, questions about what's happened to Cecilia Molokwane. Tell us a little bit more about your comments on that front as well.
Now, let me start with ASA. What people do not understand is the person that is responsible for making sure things go right in our sport. The weapons I have at my disposal is the money from the taxpayer. I have that. So when people don't do the right thing, I was hold the money. So how do I keep on? So I was criticized in the media, even by Saskok. Yeah, he's not giving us our money. We're not giving it, but I cannot continue to give money if the money is being spent in taverns, if the money is being spent at Foschini, if people just swipe the credit card for their girlfriends. So what I've done, I said, you will not get 1 cent. Investigate this matter. You investigate this matter, and to the credit of Saskok, they did exactly that. Well, it was a fight, but they got there, where they investigated the matter, and now the report is out, which they've given to me. Molloy should give reasons to. So I'm not a guy that he was going around saying that I can't touch him. Well, that was okay, but I knew we want to follow the letter of the law. Friday, which is a few days from now, he needs to give reasons as to why he should not be suspended. Then the board will deliberate on that. As far as Netball South Africa is concerned, Netball took their own decision. They chose new leadership. I just think that the issue of Cecilia, for me personally, at the beginning, I didn't appreciate the fact that we were just told, get rid of her, without being told what she did wrong.
Yeah.
I said, no. Then I had to speak and say, listen, this is not apartheid South Africa. You are going to tell me as the minister what she did wrong, because even Netball Africa didn't know what she did wrong. But once that came through, that they said that this is the charge sheet, and Saskok assured me they saw it, I said, all right, now I'm not going to interfere there. And they got new presidency, they got new leadership, and they are now building Netball. And I'm going to meet with them on Wednesday.
Okay, all right, so thank you for that. Now, speaking about leadership and transparency, we obviously here in Zimbabwe, we're speaking about the cultural aspects as well. We just saw the deliberations happening. We saw they've now concluded. It's going to be handed over ahead of the G20 Leadership Summit. Talk to us about some of those unearthings, what consensus has been reached that's going to be put forth on that front.
Now, firstly, I must tell you, I want to give the team all the credit. I wasn't in that room when the deliberations happened, when the arguments happened. Listen, they worked day after day. This was not just 3 days. Yeah. This has been coming on for months. We've been going to Brazil. We've been negotiating with people. I had all the off-the-record meetings with the people over coffee and saying, please, man, you got to agree with me on that one. And did all the soft work, the soft power work, and report back to the team. It was very, very, very hard. But today I want to say to you, and I want to give all credit to the team of the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture under the leadership of Dr. Cynthia Khumalo, because she drove them. I mean, they were calling me the SD. So I found out what's SD, it's a slave drive. But today it gives me great joy here in Zimbabwe to say that at 5:30, I went to bed because we had a function, we are hosting the ministers. Yeah. I went to bed at around 2 a.m. But every hour I would set my watch and I will ask, are you winning? Are you winning? And then at 4 o'clock I fell asleep. 5:30, they're like, yeah, we've got the Kwadukuza declaration. So yeah, I'm very, very happy about that.
All right, and so if we're looking at some of the other calendar sporting activities as well, your own legacy project in terms of this, particularly South Africa hosting the G20, anything come to mind for you there?
You know, for me, people must understand one thing. This is historical. It's the first time where African men or African is in charge of the presidency of the G20. So congratulations to His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa. It is history. No African has ever been at the helm of the G20 presidency. And he did it. So, yeah, congratulations. But also for us, that people must understand that, you know, what we discussed, what we fought about here, are things that we are now going to translate into policy. Yes. We've agreed that this can become policy. I mean, we have things like the repatriation. It cannot be that we have our leaders and our heroes that died and artifacts that has been stolen and we must beg for that to return. Those are the things that we've agreed that there shall be processes to return the artifacts amongst certain countries. We've spoken about the digital economy, to say to them that it cannot be that our children don't get paid or our content people don't get paid for their content, but people in the West get paid for their content.
Well, it's about agency. It's about also understanding where we come from. It's about that cultural diplomacy as well. Minister, I know there's a lot more happening. The final day concludes, and we're wishing you all the best of luck as you conclude everything and take the agenda forward to the Leadership Summit that's obviously happening the 22nd to the 23rd of November. Memory is going to be kept alive. Agency exerted. Perhaps the story of the world completed by asserting this version as it's handed over. We here throughout the morning, and we'll continue to bring you the latest as we continue with this final fourth working cultural group that's happening at Zimbali and Ballito in KZN. For now, I'm going to hand it back to you in studio. We'll catch you in just a short moment once again.
All right, thanks, Liezle. And of course, as she says, we'll be crossing to her throughout the morning.